So we've been talking about this the last couple of days as Pete Hegseth and the Pentagon have been making threats against the AI company Anthropic. Anthropic then now has come out from the Wall Street Journal, refuses Pentagon's proposal to loosen AI guardrails. And we want to go over the statement of Anthropic from Dario, the CEO, and see what they're saying. So a statement from Dario Amodei on discussions with the Department of War, February 26, 2026. So this is just coming out a few minutes ago. I believe deeply in the existential importance of using AI to defend the United States and other democracies and to defeat our autocratic adversaries. Okay. Anthropic has therefore worked proactively to deploy our models to the Department of War and the intelligence community, meaning that the government's already using Anthropic software, okay? But there are some red lines, and we'll go see what they says here. We were the first frontier AI company to deploy our models in the U.S. government's classified networks, the first to deploy them at the national laboratories, and the first to provide custom models for national security customers, okay? And this is all new. I knew they were using this stuff. I wasn't sure which models they're using, but they're saying they're making custom models for the government. Claude is extensively deployed across the Department of War and other national security agencies for mission-critical applications, such as intelligence analysis, modeling and simulation, operational planning, cyber operations, and more. Wow, so they're actually using it for quite a lot. And that was something that we've been wondering about. There was a report that came out recently that said they were using the Claude or whatever AI for the raid and kidnapping of Maduro. And so now we're seeing like more stuff that they're using it. Anthropic has also acted to defend America's lead in AI, even when it is against companies' short-term interest. Okay. We chose to forego several $100 million in revenue to cut off the use of Claude by firms linked to the Chinese Communist Party. Okay, so they're not used in China then. Some whom have been designated by the Department of War as Chinese military companies. Shut down CCP-sponsored cyber attacks that attempted to abuse Claude and have advocated for strong export controls on chips to ensure a democratic advantage. So they're trying to say here, and they're very purposeful in their language. When they're using Department of War instead of Department of Defense, they're trying to say, hey, we work with the government. We're even using your language. And then they're saying here, we're, helping you fight China, basically. Anthropic understands the Department of War, not private companies make military decisions, okay? We have never raised objections to particular military operations, nor attempted to limit the use of our technology in an ad hoc manner. However, in a narrow set of cases, we believe AI can undermine rather than defend democratic values. So they're trying to make the case that we worked with you, we haven't gone against you, but we don't necessarily, want you to destroy democracy is what we're talking about. Some uses are simply outside the bounds of what today's technology can safely and reliably do. Two such use cases have never been included in our contracts with the Department of War, and we believe they should not be included now. So it's like, this is not in our contract. So number one, this is what we've been talking about for a while, basically. Do you want AI to spy on you, essentially? This is from AI, from Anthropic. Then they say, mass domestic surveillance. We support the use of AI for lawful foreign intelligence and counterintelligence missions, okay? But using these systems for mass domestic surveillance, and that's interesting. So they're really highlighting the domestic part. So I don't know then theoretically, is the government using this stuff, in other countries, but not necessarily just in the USA. So that's interesting. They're highlighting domestic. Mass domestic surveillance is incompatible with democratic values. And I promise you, if people understand what's going on, they wouldn't like it. You don't want to be tracked everywhere and such like that kind of thing. AI-driven mass surveillance presents serious, novel risks to our fundamental liberties. To the extent that such surveillance is currently legal, this is only because the law has not yet caught up with the rapidly growing capabilities of AI, right? So we need to have new, legislation, regulation, discussions on this stuff, something we talk about all the time on the channel. It like I said, for people, like a lot of regular people don't necessarily pay attention to this stuff that much. But it's deeply important to understand how quickly things are moving and changing. And here's an example here they're giving. For example, under current law, the government can purchase detailed records of Americans' movements, it's like where you're going, web browsing, and associations from public sources without obtaining a warrant. Yeah, that's actually a good example of privacy. Would this fall under, can you just search, like if I can't search someone's home without a warrant, just for example, how does that play into the whole browser records and stuff like that? So that's actually a really good point to bring up. A practice intelligence community has acknowledged raised privacy concerns and has generated bipartisan opposition in Congress. Powerful AI makes it possible to assemble this scattered, individually innocuous data into a comprehensive picture of any person's life automatically and at a massive scale. And then I was just thinking, my first reaction to was the anything you post on social media or whatever would also, be easily the AI can just go through this stuff so fast. There's so much data, or like say for example, people are accessing all of the things you've ever purchased in anywhere in any location. Things that's generally people don't want to be tracked all the time, like massive tracking, right? Fully autonomous weapons. So basically, talking about the Terminator robot kind of stuff. Partially autonomous weapons like those used today in Ukraine are vital to defense of the democracy. So there's still a human operator, right? Even fully autonomous weapons, those that take humans out of the loop entirely and automate selecting and engaging targets, may prove critical for our national defense. Okay. But today, frontier AI systems are simply not reliable enough to power fully autonomous weapons. I can't even, we're even having this conversation. It is such a sci-fi thing that they even have, just like they're just saying, don't use our tech to mass spy on everyone and build Terminator robots, basically. We will not knowingly provide a product that puts America's warfighters and civilians at risk. So they have to use Hegseth language again, warfighter stuff. That's Hegseth language. We have offered to work directly with the Department of War on R&D to improve the reliability of these systems, but they have not accepted this offer. I see. In addition, without proper oversight, fully autonomous weapons cannot be relied upon to exercise critical judgment that our highly trained professional troops exhibit every day. They need to be deployed with proper guardrails, which don't exist today. This actually, it just feels like watching a sci-fi movie. It's live. This is where it's really dangerous because Elon Musk wants these contracts. And if you listen to the stuff that Elon Musk says all the time, he's always talking about his robot cars and we all need robots and we're all going to, sit on the couch and have all these robot buddies. And then you put that together with like Musk is chasing after contracts. They're having some sort of like basically autonomous drone competition type thing. And whoever gets it, gets a bunch of money. And then the Trump kids are in this stuff also. Anthropic's like, I just don't want to be a part of this thing. I was thinking about this, the other thing that crossed my mind. It's kind of like that technology, say in the movies, like the one that just crossed my mind was say cloning technology. Just for example, let's say someone wants to make this, crazy clone army or whatever, right? Like it's this sci-fi stuff that is just, you think this only happens in the movies, but we're having these conversations that, Terminator robots, clone army. I'm bringing the clone to stuff is because, there's technology out there that can do kinds of stuff. And as a world, you'd want to think, okay, let's not necessarily pursue certain kinds of, research, right? And then you always know there's going to be like a Dr. Evil kind of person out there. It's like, oh, I'm going to make the robot army. I'm going to do the clone army, right? That kind of stuff. That's why I thought of that. Like there's certain things you just don't necessarily want to pursue. To our knowledge, these two exceptions have not been a barrier to accelerating the adoption and use of our models within our armed forces to date. I see. So that's why they use language of like, to our knowledge, we don't want our technology used in this way, etc. Interesting. So the Department of War has stated they will only contract with AI companies who accede to, quote, any lawful use and remove safeguards. Okay, that's from the Hegseth people. Remove safeguards in the cases mentioned above. They have threatened to remove us from their systems if we maintain these safeguards. Okay, we're talking about safeguards here. Higgs is like, no safeguards. And Anthropic was like, no, we should keep safeguards. They have also threatened to designate us a supply chain risk, a label reserved for U.S. adversaries never before applied to an American company, and to invoke the Defense Production Act to force safeguard removal. These latter two threats are inherently contradictory. One labels us a security risk. The other labels Claude an essential to national security. That is a well-written sentence and a well-written argument right there, right? So, saying their supply chain risk, saying, oh, you're dangerous to the country, but then you're like, but we really, really need you. Isn't that crazy? It's like this whacked out, bad lover kind of thing, the same way that Trump or Hegseth or Musk, this really exposes like how bad the Trump people are, to be frank, when you read through. And someone wrote in the comments recently, like, how low of a bar this is, when a company's like, hey, just don't use, you can use our tech, just don't use it to build Terminators and just don't use it to spy on us, right? Which, from a company's point of view, I think that's pretty reasonable. But this is where we're at. We're like so far whacked out. Regardless, these threats do not change our position. We cannot in good conscience accede to their request. So they want to go along. And then the government's going to try to force them. This is going to be a fight. Let's just see what they say here too. It is the department's prerogative to select contractors most aligned with their vision, right? So, government can choose whoever they want. But given the substantial value that Anthropic's technology provides to our armed services, we hope they reconsider. Our strong preference is to continue to serve the department and our warfighters with two request safeguards in place. So you can use our stuff, just a couple things don't want to do. We should the department choose to offboard Anthropic, so if you want to cut us off, we will work to enable a smooth transition to another provider. I bet you Elon Musk is licking the chops here, I'm sure. Avoiding any disruption to ongoing military planning operations or critical missions. Our models will be available on the expansion terms we have proposed for as long as required. We remain steady to continue our work to support the national security of the United States. And that's what they say. We can take a look at a few comments of just sort of how people are reacting. One person, much respect for standing by your values, even if it's costly. Another one, I'll keep supporting Anthropic merely for them standing against that and exposing the Department of War and intel agencies for what they intend to actually do with the AI models. Another person writes, you make a flowery appeal to, quote, democratic values, but shouldn't the arbiter of those values be the people and the elected representatives as opposed to the woke Silicon Valley, that's a more right-wing person, woke Silicon Valley company that's not democratically accountable to anyone. Someone put a meme on there, flowers in the military. TLDR, regardless, these threats do not change our position. We cannot in good conscience accede to the request. Another person, huge respect to Dario for taking a real stand to protect civilians and democracy by rejecting mass surveillance. That's what the real principle and courage looks like. Another person, Anthropic may stand on these values, but that doesn't change the fact that the U.S. government will achieve this regardless, whether it's Claude or another. Yeah, I get that point, but it doesn't necessarily mean you need to be involved with said stuff, right? So you can make the case, well, Trump and his ICE are going to do terrible things, but it doesn't mean you need to join ICE, So that's what's going on. Claude looks like rejected the Pentagon. I haven't seen any statements from Hegseth yet. I was looking for it. I haven't seen anything yet. It'll come out soon, and when I see something, I'll let you guys know. And this is going to be a fight, as I said, and I think obviously then Elon Musk is like, oh well, I'll do that. I'll build those robots and stuff like that because he needs to save his company as they're failing. But that's what's going on, and I want to hear your thoughts, and I'll catch you on the next video.